Right. All right. Hello, everyone. This is C. Alexandra with Rolling Out Health IQ. Super excited. I have a special guest with me today. Dr. Rutland is in the building. So just a little bit about him before we get into all the good stuff. He's a pulmonary critical care medical doctor. He's the owner of West Coast Lung of the Rutland Medical Group. He's also president of Association for Healthcare Social Media. And he's also the National Volunteer Medical Spokesperson for the American Lung Association. So a lot of different titles. How are you doing today, Dr. Rutland?
I'm doing great. How are you, Chelsea?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So, of course, the state of the air, statement was released, and, the air levels are, kind of they're polluted and things of that nature. So we kind of wanted to get your expertise on everything. So before we get into that, though, we kind of want to know more about what you do on a day-to-day basis. So in layman's terms, can you just tell us what a pulmonary critical care medical doctor does?
Yeah, so I'm a pulmonary critical care physician, which means that I take care of individuals that have lung disease, right? And your lung is one of the major organs of your body. So when you take that deep breath of air in, your environment that you're snatching in is interfacing with the inside of your body with your lung, and your lung's responsibility is to take the oxygen out of that environment, put it inside your body, and give you the energy that you need to survive. And as an intensive care unit physician, the critical care aspect of my career is a physician who takes care of individuals that are in the intensive care unit, individuals that are on the brink of death. Mm-hmm. And, we either allow them and they get them and they're able to survive, or individuals will sort of move to that next stage of life naturally. But it's just one of those intense areas that I've chosen to dedicate my life.
I love it. I love it. Well, I got to know, what does a typical day look like for you right now?
Yeah, so a typical day for me, again, I'm kind of a non-traditional pulmonary critical care physician. So I run the intensive care unit at night about 5 to 6 times a month. And then during my week, I spend 2.5 days in my outpatient clinic where I'm taking care of individuals with mostly autoimmune lung diseases. And then I spend about a half a day a week doing my interventional pulmonary procedures, where I'm sticking a scope in somebody's mouth, looking inside their lungs, biopsying lesions that look like cancer, biopsying lymph nodes that look like they have cancer in them. And then the other 2.5 days a week, I'm spending doing a lot of content creating, educating, medical television producing, and things like that.
Okay. So well-rounded. I love it. Well, we're looking forward to you educating us on, this topic. Like I said, the state report came out just talking about the air pollution levels in the air and what this means for people with lung conditions. So, as the National Volunteer Medical Spokesperson for the American Lung Association, I guess, what are you all doing to kind of, combat the high pollution levels and things in the air, or, educating people on this?
Yeah, I think the most important thing that the State of the Air report that's written by the American Lung Association does is it creates awareness, right? It creates awareness of harmful environments. And so when you're looking at your environment and where you live, understanding the pollution that surrounds you allows you to understand why you may feel so bad, why you may be coughing, why you may be struggling to breathe, but it also gives you pause and warnings. There are individuals that are at risk of developing severe disease secondary to the presence of harmful products in the air, right? Individuals with lung disease, individuals with cardiovascular disease, individuals who are obese. And really what it's saying is, hey, listen, the air pollution is here. This is what's going on. This is what's causing your symptoms. And that awareness allows individuals perhaps to seek care and to understand what's going on in their body a little bit better.
Understandable. So I guess when it comes to those with lung conditions specifically, how can this help, how can this impact their health? Can you just share, I guess, different scenarios in that case?
Yeah, of course. So if you look at individuals that have asthma, right, a common lung condition that we've all heard of, asthma is autoimmune inflammation of the pipes that carry air to the balloons, right? Your lung is essentially a bunch of pipes, leads to a bunch of balloons stacked on top of one another. When these pipes have inflammation, it causes you to wheeze, cough, and be short of breath. So if you have asthma and you already have chronic inflammatory cells in those pipes, what you're going to discover if the air is heavily polluted, you're going to breathe in all these products. which are going to worsen that inflammation. So you may have worsening symptoms. You may have more wheezing. You may have more mucus production. You may have more cough. So it exacerbates your chronic lung condition, which is what leads to significantly more airway inflammation, more symptoms, and perhaps a presentation to the hospital.
Interesting. Now, are you able to educate us as well on how this affects people of color? You know, especially with different areas. I know certain cities, I don't know if you know this specifically, but certain cities, I guess, are affected more. So yeah, can you weigh in on that a little bit, please?
Yeah, so again, I'm a person of color, right? I grew up in these neighborhoods as well. So when you look overall at the neighborhoods of where we live, those neighborhoods are next to areas that are allowed to be polluted, right? Diesel trucks are driving through our neighborhoods. They're not driving through white neighborhoods. They're not driving through Beverly Hills, right? They're driving through Inglewood and Compton, driving through areas where we grew up. And so when you look at this, what we understand, the NAACP found that 78% of Black Americans live within 30 miles of a coal-fired power plant, and 71% live in counties violating federal air quality standards, right? That just means that we are more exposed to air pollution. So not only are we more exposed to air pollution, but we already know that we don't get that healthcare access that most individuals get. And when you look at the history of our country, looking at redlining, looking at policies that were created in the past that basically forced us to live in certain areas of the country, those areas of the country are now allowed to be polluted, which leads to more death in individuals that look like us. As a matter of fact, we're 3 times more likely to die of particulate matter exposure, which is a form of air pollution, when compared to white individuals.
So they found another way to still affect us, right?
Right.
Interesting.
Exactly.
So yeah, well, I guess solutions, right? What are some solutions that we can do now to kind of combat this?
You know, again, when you look at the amount of air pollution that's being produced overall in the country, it's coming down, right? Since the Lung Association published the State of the Air report and they were able to get out this information, EPA has obviously come up with policies, Environmental Protection Agency has been able to come up with policies that have reduced the amount of air pollution. I think creating awareness and allowing individuals to understand this is where you live next to this freeway, you live next to this plant, there's going to be more air pollution, your kid may have asthma. So the least we could do is educate people on those diseases that individuals may have, especially kids, and allow them to have access to care. So what I would do if I were an individual that was a governor or I was a mayor, I would go to those areas and at least establish a nice funnel of healthcare access for those individuals. You're not going to be able to pick everybody up and move, right? You can't just say, okay, you're going to move, we're going to pick up your house and put it somewhere else. I know you can't do that, but the least we could do is educate people, let them become aware, and make sure they have access to healthcare to be taken care of appropriately.
I like that. Well said. You know, I got to know what does this mean to you on a personal level? You know, you deal with patients all the time, and just knowing that these pollution levels are so high. Yeah, what does it mean to you personally?
Yeah, I mean, personally, when I think about that, right, again, my clinic is just south of Long Beach, California. Long Beach, California is one of the most heavily polluted areas in the state of California because of all the industrial plants that are in that area. And so as a result of that pollution, you get a lot of children that end up having asthma in that area. In fact, I'm interviewing 10 of these children tomorrow. But I think what it allows me to do is educate these kids on what asthma is, what chronic airway inflammation is, so that they fully understand how it's impacting their health, their sports, and what they're doing. And that way they can at least seek appropriate therapy. I'm not going to sit here and say that the air pollution is the only reason why these kids have asthma, but I will sit here and say that their genetic predisposition, which led to them being a significant risk for developing asthma, in combination with the presence of air pollution, has led to their inflammation and chronic symptoms. And the least I could do is let them know that asthma is not something where it's like, oh, I cut myself, it heals, it goes away. Asthma is chronic airway inflammation. And as long as your environment stays the same, that inflammation is going to continue. So we do need to treat it.
Well, how can the community get involved? Because like you said, it's kind of like only so much we can do. I know the state of report or state of the air
Mhm.
report, we just, dropped April 19th. So yeah, what can the community do at this moment?
I think what the community can do is create awareness. If somebody is sick, if an individual is sick, if a child is sick, if a parent is sick, make sure that they seek out healthcare. We're only going to know what's affecting the community if individuals report it. So I think we do have some sense of a responsibility. There was a fire, a big industrial plant fire in Indiana. We knew about it because the community reported on it and said, "What's that smoke? What's going on?" They wanted to know what kind of material was burning so they could understand if they needed to evacuate an area or not because of the presence of that particular air pollution. So I think that what the community can do is at least continue to create that awareness so that way we can motivate government type of individuals to clean up the air in those areas.
I love it. And just last question, Dr. Rutland, can you just share with us how important it is for people of color to, know about their environment, also to know about, healthcare and, just getting the proper, checkups and things that, that they need?
Yeah, I mean, again, for individuals that need to understand and need to know that their environment impacts their lung health, thinking about smoking, thinking about vaping, thinking about air pollution, all of those things are going to contribute to lung inflammation and airway inflammation. Understand that smoking and vaping, you can control that. You cannot do that. Let's not contribute to worsening airway inflammation by combining that smoking and vaping with significant air pollution, because you're already getting a significant amount of exposure to something that's causing some lung inflammation. There's no reason to introduce something that you can control, which can worsen that inflammation. I think it's my responsibility to educate on lung health, not only to people that look like me, but to individuals in general so they can understand how their environment impacts their health.
I love it. Well, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on Rolling Out Health IQ. We definitely enjoyed listening to your expertise. And yeah, guys, you heard it from the best. C. Alexandra, and we are rolling out.
Appreciate it.